Hello and welcome back to Boring Dead Gaming, where today we're going to be playing some more Citizen Sleeper 2. It feels a little like we're heading into the end game. If we look at our drives, i.e. our goals, contact Carmen, wait for Carmen's analysis. One more cycle and that will happen. Investigate Hexport, go back to Darkside. So that so we feel like that's kind of getting towards it now. I guess we're just gonna sort of use up our dice. Component hunt, why not? Guaranteed positive. God, we rolled really well. I mean, we rolled 4 out of 5 of our dice as 6s. I think I'll probably still keep. Well, what do the others get us? I think this one replenishes energy, which is fun. Well, you know, let's see. I think it does do that, but I don't really need the energy replenishment. Yeah. It actually gave us a supply, which was good. So does this one give us a fuel, maybe? I could fill up on fuel just like this without buying any. That would be pretty good. Well, there we go. That's full up now. Canteen is just to buy food, but we don't need that. So I'm just going to pop these last 2 dice in here. So we'll get the scrap, don't need the other stuff, so... Pretty good. Okay, so I think we rest, and then when we come out of resting, might as well do the odd jobs. We should be moving on with the plot, hopefully. Rolled quite poorly this time, but we got Carmen. Now, it's been quite a while since I last played. Because I've been playing Kingdom Come Deliverance and also Beyond Good and Evil. So then there's some of the more minor characters. I can't quite remember how I voiced them. So I don't remember what Carmen sounded like. So I'll just give him a bit of a random voice. Thanks for coming up, Sleeper. Carmen is waiting for you and Seraphim when you arrive at the medbay, looking a lot fresher. He leads you to a small alcove set up like an office, with an aging terminal and a simple welded desk, and a small window looking out across the dusty rock of Oliveira. Got some news for us? Seraphim asks impatiently. Since you arrived back from the manufactory, he's been restless, though you aren't sure why. Not to worry. Carmen grins slightly. I think you'll want to hear this. He hits a key on the terminal and a file browser appears on the screen, showing hundreds of individual pieces of data. Ankita's been busy. Carmen gestures to the screen. She's been scraping at Tsubo communications cycle after cycle. Got access to ciphers and encryption that only the gang's leadership should be able to see. He smiles. It seems she's learned some tricks since we worked together. But that's not what matters. What matters is the content of these messages. He taps a few keys and loads some of the data, which scrolls down the screen. Some parts of its Tsubo leadership have been getting ideas about taking Greenbelt and controlling food production in the belt. But exerting power over Wellspring. Big ideas for a gang. But these Tsubo members aren't alone. They found themselves a powerful ally. Carmen shakes his head. Senate Stat, one of 2 corporations fighting a bitter battle for control of the inner system. A pernicious force, one that Yotsubo are opening a door for in the belt. You can't be serious. Seraphim cuts in. They can't be that stupid. I don't know what to tell you. At least someone inside Yotsubo is trying to broker a partnership. Who? Seraphim leans over to look at the screen. You don't need Carmen's answer, and neither does Seraphim. Laine. Seraphim looks at you, shaking his head. It has to be Laine. Carmen looks between you both. Seems like you already know something I don't. Laine is a piece of shit, but Tsubo leader that thinks he owns us. Seraphim shakes his head. Exactly the kind of piece of shit arrogant enough to try to manipulate Senate Stat. Carmen nods thoughtfully. My condolences. I started to see how you crossed paths with Ankita. So why is Ankita telling you this? Like I said, Ankita and I worked together. To put it simply, we ran in the same mercenary outfit. Carmen looks away. A lot has happened since then, but this message, this data, it's her calling in a favor. And I owe her, that's for sure. Carmen shakes his head and pushes himself off from the desk, crossing the room to look out of the window at Oliveira's pale and airless surface. Hell, after what went down, I owe you both too. You look at Carmen staring out at the surface of this hostile rock and wonder what he sees out there. He established the colony as a fallback, a retreat, not just for him, for others too. But you get the feeling that Carmen knows any retreat is only ever temporary. He turns back to look at you. And you, Sleeper? What will you do? I think we're going to take on Atsubo. Take on a gang? Carmen smiles. You sure about that? We're gonna end Laine, whatever it takes. Seraphine stares down Carmen, fists balled. Carmen looks at you. That one's gonna get you in trouble. He turns to Seraphine. But I like that energy. He looks back out of the window. This is not something we're gonna take head on. He shakes his head. And Kira sent us our weapon. Carmen turns and gestures at the console screen with its reams of incriminating data. Yotsubo don't control all of Darkside, they only aspire to. They also claim to offer protection for them from the war between Senatstead and Conway. That presents us with an opportunity. Yotsubo is full of members who'd rather die than concede Darkside to a corporate interest. If we play this right, Yotsubo will end Laine for us. He smiles at Seraphine. To use your phrase. We leak the data? Not leak. Carmen frowns. This is delicate, tricky. There's a lot of ways this can play out badly for all of us. We can handle it. We've cracked Darkside once, we can do it again. Seraphine's confidence is infectious. Is that right? Carmen seems to be thinking something through. He crosses to the console, back to the window, and then to the console once more. Alright, I'm gonna need some time, but I can put this together. Carmen nods at Seraphine. We'll need that energy, but you also need to be ready. We rush this, it's not ending well. So, I can wait. Carmen turns his attention to you. We'll go from Greenbelt when you're ready. I have friends there who can help get that ship of yours into Darkside. Seraphine looks at you. We have our own preparations to make, but we'll be ready. Alright. Carmen unplugs Ankita's drive and hands it to you. Take this and get out of here. I don't want anyone finding this thing in my possession. You take it, the tiny drive, somehow heavier now that you know it contains the key to exposing Laine. See you in Greenbelt. I'll see you in the wheat sheaf. Carmen smiles to himself. They know me there. Just understand something. Carmen's expression turns serious. You want my help on this? There's no way we can let it get back to the colony. Once you leave here, you're not coming back to Oliveira. Not until we're done. He meets your eye. He needs confirmation that you recognize the importance of this. I understand. Carmen nods. Then you can go. He returns to the window to stare at whatever it is he sees out there among the dusty rocks. Flint. Oh, new drive available. 2 upgrade points. That's cool, because we can upgrade our 4th skill to double plus standard now. When you come back to the rig, Flint is waiting for you, leaning by the docking tunnel with a bag over their shoulder. They look up as you approach. Hey. Flint nods a greeting, appearing a little unsure. Hey. I know you've already done a lot for me, so I'm not going to push you or ask for your pity. They pause. You feel like they've been preparing this speech. Firstly, I owe you, and I want to pay you back. I can work, and I can fight, and I will protect this ship and this crew with everything I have. Secondly, we come from the same place, and whether you remember it or not, that means something. It must. I know I'm not the easiest to get on with. I know you might have your reservations about having another sleeper on the ship, but... That's enough. Flint stops immediately. Sorry. You look at Flint, their frame's so much more damaged than yours, but with a fire burning in their eyes that makes them seem bigger than they are. Welcome aboard. A smile spreads across Flint's face, and they look down to hide it. Thank you, they say to the floor. This will work out. You'll see. Flint nods to you once more, and then turns and glides down the docking tunnel towards the ship. As they do, 2 figures at the edge of the docking concourse catch your eye. Cadence. You pause to look, shifting a little, and as you do, you recognize Cadence leaning in. Some words are exchanged, ones you can only guess at, and then the other figure embraces Cadence and turns back to the ship. So I think Seraphine's found a girlfriend. As Seraphine approaches, he ducks his head, passing quietly past you into the docking tunnel without a word. You take one last look out at the docks. The Cadence is gone. You idle a moment longer and feel that there's something, some presence even in these empty bays. Something rare in all the belt that Oliveira has captured. But as with all things, you must learn to leave it behind. So we now have Flint, who is decent at interface and engineering. So that's pretty good. We've got a nice little crew together now, 6 people. Overthrow Laine is our major drive now, as well as finding out the secret about Hexport. Which is good. Let's... oh, actually, I've got 2 skills that need to upgrade still to 4. So I think... I'm gonna do Endure, because there's a lot of Endure checks. Yeah. So assuming we do these 2, then we'll be able to upgrade the 4th, but I feel like that's probably going to be the end of the game. So I think we head off now. Now we need to get to Greenbelt, so we have to go via the Hollow, so let's do that. There's not an awful lot we need now, like I don't really need to like work or anything. I mean, I'll top up fuel and stuff, obviously. I think I'm also, let's tell you what, let's get this the right way around, leave. I want to feed the kitty cat, so I'm going to pop some supplies in there for them. Then I'll harvest the mushrooms with a positive result. That'll take our supplies back up. There we go. Fuel. If there's someone to buy fuel, we'll do it. Probably the fuel. Here we go. Yes, let's top up that. I could get a few credits in, I suppose, but then we're going to shoot off again, I guess. Off to Greenbelt. Let's go. So the wheat sheaf is where we need to be. So let's go check it out, I guess. We don't have any timer here. I guess we could just rest and well, let's fill up the fuel again, I suppose. Because there's not really anything to do here. See if one cycle's enough for Carmen to get in touch with us. Looks like it. You find yourself in the cockpit alone with Flint. They have a habit of entering a room so silently that you don't notice them arrive, or the reverse, leaving so silently that you turn around to find them gone. Right now they hover expectantly at the corner of your vision, preparing to speak. Do you ever think about your original? The way they ask the question, you can tell they've been eager to ask it for a while. The person you're emulated from, I mean. The person who sold themselves, sold you to S&ARP. Flint's expression doesn't betray any emotion, but you feel like you can detect some unknowable feeling whirling behind their eyes. Me, the player, I do. I wonder about the character, you know, the person out there who is the personality behind our sleeper. So I'm going to say sometimes. Sometimes I can't stop thinking about them, about who they were, and if who I am has anything to do with them. Flint looks away. Is my personality a product of being a sleeper, or simply a copy of theirs? Have I changed, or am I still identical to them? Does the emulation process, the loss of memory, the insertion into a frame actually make us totally different people? What came through the process of emulation, and what was blocked? Flint is looking around the cockpit rapidly now, their eyes flicking from object to object as they speak. Are their memories still inside me, but cut off, concealed? And if I admit it, I wonder if I even know what it feels like to be a person. Do the humans around me feel the things I feel, or do they feel more, feel less, feel somehow differently? Do they feel the creeping claustrophobia of being trapped inside a body with no escape? Flint's eyes flick back to you, or do we only know how that truly feels? Or do only we know how that truly feels? I can't answer that. Then who can? Flint meets your eye. I haven't seen another sleeper since I escaped SNARP. We'll share our experiences. There is a wall in you, one that you've built for yourself, one that separates the kind of questions Flint is asking from the parts of you that you need to live. You feel it now, like a weight in your chest, and behind there is a raging torrent pressing against it. You cannot take down the wall, you would drown, but in this moment, for Flint and for yourself, you take out a single brick. You make a gap in the wall and you share what comes bursting forth. You talk about what it feels like to wake up in a dying body, to catch a glance of yourself in a mirror, to be seen and reminded of your false and fractured face. You share the pain of lost memories, of fleeting déjà vu, of dreams that slip beneath your waking life and replace it. You find in your broken bodies and unsteady minds a kind of solidarity, one shared between connected strangers who might, one cycle, understand each other as friends. As you put the brick back in and shore up your defences, you know that cycle will not be this one, but its distant possibility is a reassuring one. Okay, so that wasn't the story mission. So I think what we'll do, we'll feed the kitty cat again. And harvest a mushroom, why not? Take that out, let's put the 4 in. Top up the supplies. We'll come out of here, we'll pop over to the wheat sheaf, we'll eat. That's all we can really do here at the moment. And we'll rest up again, I suppose. Waiting for Carmen to get in touch with us now. Seraphin, we've got a message, sleeper. Seraphin comes to the bunks to get you, his mood unusually serious. He brings you to the cockpit, his keepsake coin in his hand the whole time, spinning between his fingers. Seraphin is worried. Once you're in the cockpit, you recognize Carmen's voice immediately, playing over the rig's speakers. Sleeper, I hope this message finds you and your crew safely. You'll forgive me if I'm a little tight on the details. My message is as follows. We're ready. We'll be waiting where agreed. Godspeed. The message ends with a click. So, Seraphin takes a deep breath. They're waiting in Greenbelt, the wheat sheaf, he says. Wherever that is. You ready for this? Yeah, I think so. Seraphin nods. Alright then. Quiet falls in the cockpit. There doesn't seem to be much more to say. Carmen will be waiting, but you know he'll want you to be prepared. I'll be ready when you are, sleeper. Seraphin nods to you. You nod back. You know where you need to go to end this. Yes we do. So, we're going to pop into the wheat sheaf. We can meet Carmen, sure. Buy a drink. That might be enough to top up our energy, which is what I wanted to do anyway. I'll do that as well, so I'm going to top up my energy. I come out. Yeah. The wheat sheaf is surprisingly welcoming for what was once an old Solheim canteen. The corporate bones are still there. Metal stools, a strip of service windows, sheet metal walls. But over the tens of thousands of cycles since the collapse, they have been softened and changed, layered with the detritus of human existence. As you wait at the bar with Seraphin, you look at the planters welded into the walls, the scrawled messages, the layers of stickers and flyers and posters. The amber light fittings replacing the old fluorescent strips, the gear racks lined with farmers' packs, the netting bulging with crates and canisters. Along with the low rumble of conversation coming from the off-shift farmers, it all lends a warmth to the place, one that helps soothe your nerves ahead of the meet with Carmen. You and Seraphin lean side by side at the bar, facing towards the room. You both watch Flint just across from you, who insisted on coming along. Seraphin clears his throat. What do you think of Cadence? A sudden question makes you look over at him, and you see he's playing with his coin, spinning it in his palm. I like her. Hey, me too. Seraphin smiles to himself, closing his hand on the coin. I think... He pauses and then starts again. We kind of have a thing. He shakes his head. You ken what I mean? I noticed. Aye. He smiles. I thought you might. Well, Seraphin sighs and stretches. I guess I just wanted you to know. You're thinking how to respond when the bartender taps you on the shoulder and nods towards the door to the back room. It's time. You look over at Seraphin and Flint, who's already approaching you. You give them a nod and head inside. The back room is metal-walled and lined with racks of old Solheim tech. You see cookers and auto-wash units piled up with dead terminals and servers. At the far end, a window looks out across the greening glass of Greenbelt's farms.
You made it.
Carmen smiles, backlit by the window.
We've got a lot to discuss.
Then let's get to it.
Flint, if you don't mind.
Carmen nods at the other sleeper as they enter and gestures towards the door. Flint turns to you. I'll be outside. They slide the door shut, standing guard on the other side.
We have to take some precautions, even here.
Carmen gestures for you to come closer.
So,
Seraphin sighs. Is this plan of ours looking any more reasonable?
That depends on what your crew can bring to the table.
Carmen glances at you.
We're going to need to do a lot of work to direct the data Ankita gave you towards those that we need to see it.
Who's that?
Yotsubo, primarily. They should know about their boss's betrayal of the belt. And secondly, all of Darkseid. They need to know what we do. Know what we do.
Ankita can help us.
She must. Carmen looks away. Without her, this plan is impossible.
Then we make contact with Ankita as soon as we make it onto Darkseid. Seraphin looks at you. We just need to stay under Laine's radar. The thought of Laine brings the memory of his attempted takeover to the front of your mind. The feeling of him slipping behind your eyes, moving your frame. That can't happen again. Apologies, we do not wish to interrupt, but we must interject in your current course. Overseer appears in the void, flickering nervously. An encounter with Laine would likely be catastrophic. Overseer's 3 forms orbit you. As we have mentioned, on arrival to Habpep we must immediately seek the mainframe, from where we can recover my codebase and reconstruct ourselves. We would then be able to aid you in your defenses against being rewritten. This is our recommended course. The 3 heads nod simultaneously and decisively. Still with us, Sleeper? You come back to Seraphin's concerned face. You dropped out for a second. Explain about Overseer. Let's get everyone on the same page here. You tell Seraphin and Carmen about Overseer, about how the old Solheim protocol slipped into your frame from the prime ship mine Jean-Mi used in the diagnostic process. Of Overseer's protection from Laine's attempts to control you, of its proposal to make that protection effective through the old mainframe of Darkseid. They listen quietly, Seraphin carefully watching you as you explain. Revealing all this, you feel the burden of holding that knowledge alone being lifted.
This changes things.
Carmen turns and looks out of the large window at the back of the room, towards the glass canopy of the farms.
We can't take on Laine without protecting you from him.
Carmen turns back.
You should look for the mainframe. I'll make contact with Ankita and we will meet when you're ready. But this has to remain secret from Laine and Yotsubo. If you're revealed, I'm not sure I'll be able to recover you. By the time you've ensured your safety, I will have put together a plan with Ankita to expose Laine. We take it step by step. The crux will be to find a way to disseminate the data we have on Laine to his gang, or even Darkseid at large.
Carmen stops, the path ahead still unclear to him. There is a nervous intake of breath from Seraphin. You share his apprehension. There are so many variables at play here. Some of the old tech strapped to a nearby rack flickers with a cascade of status lights. You all turn to look, and as you do, motors and servos begin spinning within the machines, whining and groaning. They harmonize, and then begin to produce a voice. Apologies. The voice is shrill and distorted, apparently. We must interpose ourselves. You recognize the tone immediately. Overseer. We are regretful. Solheim hardware in this room provided the opportunity for us to speak. For ourselves. If the pile of servers Overseer was controlling could look any more apologetic, you imagine it would. Say what you've got to say. The servo clicks nervously, but Overseer does not immediately respond. We ascertain you require dissemination of data within facility you target. The whine pitches higher as the motors increase their speed. As a Solheim protocol, we have capabilities to instigate station-wide announcements and messaging. So you could blast out Laine's betrayal through Darkseid's corporate hardlines and flood the network with it. Seraphin looks impatiently at the screeching pile of scrap. If that is what you require of us, we are pleased to serve. The shrill tone of the response makes you cringe. Carmen has been listening silently, but now he interjects.
Why should we trust you?
He glances in your direction.
You seem to be little more than a parasite in the Sleeper's system.
If we use your unflattering analogy, then you will understand that a parasite requires the body of its host to live. The motors stutter. We will ensure the sleeper's continuance.
And afterwards?
Carmen folds his arms.
When you have what you want and regain your codebase from the mainframe, will you still do as we ask?
We will endeavor to do so. The acrid smell of burning motors now fills the room, but we will undergo a transformative refactoring. We will become whole again, so we cannot speak to our actions in future with certainty. Seraphine and Carmen exchange concerned looks. We can do what you require. We will protect the sleeper. We will disseminate the data. We are a service protocol. We will serve. The motors and servos stutter and whine and then go still, the status lights blinking and then fading to darkness. Overseer has retreated. We aren't actually going to do what the ghost says, are we? Seraphine looks between you and Carmen.
The offer is a tempting one, and one that ultimately we cannot refuse.
Carmen sighs.
But we must proceed with extreme care and caution.
What do you think, Sleeper? Seraphine meets your eye. I trust Overseer. Seraphine sighs. Well, then that's that.
We have our plan.
Carmen turns to you.
Sleeper, you and your crew will find the mainframe and access it. I will find Ankita. She will help us disseminate the evidence of Laine's collusions through its Yubo, and then as a fallback, Overseer will send it through the old networks to all of Darkside.
Simple plan, until you get to the details. Seraphine looks down, frustrated.
Speaking of plans, I have a present for you, one that will improve our chances.
Carmen pulls a small box from the nearest stack, one you hadn't noticed before, and its hinges open, revealing a chunk of tech you don't recognize.
It's a spoof transponder. It'll conceal your ship on approach to Darkside and give it a new identity, one unlikely to draw attention from the Yotsubo-controlled docking admin.
Seraphine takes the transponder and turns it over. Where did you get this?
Even retired mercenaries have their secrets.
Carmen smiles. Seraphine looks to you. I'll be with you this time, Sleeper. He nods. We should think who else we want on the station too.
I agree.
Carmen interrupts.
Make sure you trust those that you bring with you and prepare as best you can. We can't know how this will play out.
You nod. You'll get one shot at this.
Then we're ready.
Carmen takes a breath.
I have my own way of getting onto Darkside, but here...
He passes you a small strip of plastic stamped with numbers.
My private frequency. When you're on an approach to Darkside, message me here and I'll sync up my transit.
He points at the transponder in Seraphine's hand.
Just make sure to install that first.
Seraphine nods. Aye, we've got it. He sighs, the weight of the task ahead suddenly very apparent. Well, I suppose that's it. Carmen gives you both a serious look.
It is.
He smiles.
Don't leave me waiting long. There'll be more time when all this is over. Time where you don't have to keep looking over your shoulder, I hope.
You leave Carmen in the back of the wheat sheaf, Flint sliding open the door as you leave. It takes the entire journey back to the ship for your nerves to settle. The end of this ordeal is so close, and yet it feels like an impossible leap to get there. Perhaps in a handful of cycles you'll know how impossible or possible it is. So, how are we feeling about this Solheim protocol in your head? Seraphine doesn't look up from installing the transponder, a set of wires and cables waving loosely around him in the low light of the cockpit. Overseer's okay. I'm glad to hear it, although you'll have to forgive me for being a little bit concerned. He begins unscrewing a panel beneath the flight console. Maybe you could have mentioned it earlier. Seraphine clips his magnetic screwdriver to the side of the console's base and turns to face you, dusting off his hands. I've understood for a while now, Sleeper, that there are things you experience that I can't even come close to knowing how they feel. But that didn't mean I don't understand you as a person. Seraphine gives you a concerned look. I know you're secretive, defensive, and I know there are reasons for that. I also know you're warm and kind and generous to those on this ship with you. Seraphine pauses, collecting his thoughts. I trust you, Sleeper, and I will not question this. But please, hold on to what's human in you, because that is what I'm holding on to. Seraphine stops, his eyes a little wild, his tone a little unsure. Then he finds himself again, settles his emotions and turns back to the transponder. Right, well, that's it. He twists something beneath the console. Spoof transponder is in. There's nothing keeping us out at Darkside. You exchange a look. Say the word when you want to go. I think that time is now. We're all full up of everything. No points to spend. I think we go off. Darkside. Let's date. Okay, so who are we going to take? I think it's going to be Junie. She's the one we've travelled with the most. I also prefer to have someone with a plus in one thing rather than more of a sort of average generalist with, you know, sort of neutral in a couple of categories. But yeah, she's been with us a lot, so we'll take her. It says filled. Oh, empty. We can take someone else. I thought because we had Seraphim we could only pick one. Well, in that case, purely for story reasons, I think we should take Flint. Let's do that. And certainly they can be trusted as well. Alright, Sleeper. You want to do the honours? Seraphim is strapped into the pilot seat, guiding the rig towards Darkside. You take the strip of plastic Carmen gave you and copy the frequency into the comms window of the console. Then you type a simple message. Heading in. Good luck. The console chimes. The message is sent. You hope Carmen is in range to receive it. You search inside your mind, wanting to find Overseer there, but you feel no presence. You hope they'll be ready when called for. You look ahead out of the cockpit towards the distant glimmer of Darkside. Time to take on Laine. When Seraphim finally brings the rig into the Sunward docks, everyone in the cockpit lets out a sigh of relief. The approach was simple. Routine, even. Checking in with the port administration, being assigned a dock, bringing the rig to a stop. All of it familiar, but all of it laced with the tension of knowing that, at any point, it could all go very wrong. The spoofed transponder worked. Seraphim shakes his head. So at least we know Carmen's as good as his word. So far? Aye, let's take this one step at a time, alright? Seraphim shuts down the engine and unclips from his seat. The transponder's not as complex as you think. Junie unclips from her seat. I imagine Carmen is less concerned with reaching Darkside and more with what happens once we're here. You can trust Carmen. Flint looks at you. And if Carmen trusts Ankita, well, she's good too. We need to worry about Utsubo, not our allies. You try to imagine Carmen somewhere on Darkside, perhaps smuggling themselves aboard a freighter or among the crew of a trusted ally. You hope he's as confident as he seemed about finding Ankita. We need to spend less time worrying about what Carmen has to do and more about what's ahead of us. Seraphim turns to you. The old facility Hab Pit was it? Yeah, I'm guessing that's deep below all this. Seraphim gestures towards the vast accumulation that is Darkside, a city that grew on the back of the Habpep solar cells layer by layer. Its chaotic structure is neither planned nor regulated, but the foundations it's built on should be as formal as any corporate facility. That means we'll need a path down into the foundations, and I suggest we dinna just take the first one we find. Seraphim continues. We scope the area out carefully, quietly, look for the right path into the heart of this place. What about Utsubo? Well, thanks to the spoofed transponder, they dinna ken we're here. Let's keep it that way. Are you ready, Sleeper? Junie smiles. I'll be with you every step. Seraphim nods. I'll hold the rig down. We dinna want you losing your exit route like last time. He winks. Here. He hands you a comms earpiece. I salvaged this from a suit helmet. It ain't secure, but as long as Utsubo don't know we're here, it should be fine. I'll let you know as soon as I hear from Carmen. He meets your eye. Go, get this done, Sleeper. You nod. This is what it all comes down to. Okay, so we've got the underpass, which is interface checks. We're all decent enough at that. We can explore the tunnels. Gaining access to the core of the old Habpet facility means exploring every path down to find the right descent. Okay, so we've got to do all of these areas, and then that'll add a segment to our clock each time. Deep Road. The underpass cuts deep into the old substructure. Perhaps it can help you access the old core. Is there anything else we should be aware of? We have the Sundown Docks. The docks are a winding maze of passages, but perhaps one leads into the old substructure. So we've got Intuit and... we're all terribly engaged, but we're decent at Intuit. I am, anyway. That's fine. Junie's rolled terribly, incidentally. Endure. So this is the Shattered Edge. Here, where the old substructure is exposed, might be the perfect place to gain entry to the station's core. Engineering and Endure. So a lot of checks I'm good at, but unsurprisingly, because, 3 out of 4 areas I'm very good at now. But let's start here. So, I'm going to put my 6 into hack bulkheads, separating the layers of the station and its substructure and many bulkheads. Hacking them would provide access. Let's do that, see how many segments we get. We've got a positive result guaranteed here. That's half the clock, which is rather nice. We could flip a coin on a positive result, maybe, with Flint here. It was neutral. So they took a stress. They've got 6 pips of stress though, so that's probably fine. Well, let's just do... I don't want to gain stress, so let's try and guarantee a positive result here. Okay. So this one's done. That's good. Is there anything I've got a double pip in? Intuit is dangerous, so I don't necessarily want to do that. But maybe in the because I don't think a neutral result here would give us stress. It's my guess. But we got a positive outcome anyway. I'm not going to use any of the ones. It's a shame we've got so many of them. There we go. Well, that's good. Let's go back to the ship. I'm not going to harvest this time, because it's going to use a supply. We'll top it up at the end of the day. Decent rolls from us. They're pretty average, it must be said. Let's finish this one off. I think if I'll just put a 3 into this, as it's just a risky. That should fill that. Neutral, didn't quite fill it. Let's do it again. Okay. 2 down, 1 to go. So this is going to be about the Intuit checks, and this is on me because they're rubbish at all of this stuff. All of these results should be guaranteed positive, and I probably only need 2 of them. No, it's going to take all 3. Searching the docks. Yeah, we'll do that. Ooh. Okay, I don't know if that's supposed to look like that. As you're gliding down a dark tunnel descending deeper below Darkside, your earpiece begins hissing with static. Zeba! Seraphine's voice sounds different. Faint. Cardamon. Contact. Mit with target. You strain to hear the rest of the message, but the static overpowers his voice. You stop and push the earpiece in deeper. Continue. Stay safe. The line goes dead. Junie stops and looks back over her shoulder. Signal's only going to get worse as we go. She glances down the tunnel. Seems like Carmen's progressing. We should focus on the task ahead. The mainframe can't be far. You continue your descent down, ducking under thick cables and collapsed beams. The busy urban life of the city above seems far away now, hidden from your senses. Its rumble and brightness has been replaced by the cloying dark and a growing oppressive heat. Darkside, and the Habpet facility it was built upon, has been running unrestrained ever since the collapse, gathering huge volumes of energy, more than its residents could ever use. You feel like you can sense it in the walls, running like a torrent just behind the thin skin of metal and rubber. A large portion of the vast amount of current running through the station is radiated into the void as heat, making Darkside a typically humid station. But down here that heat is drier and more intense, and sections of wall glow with a fiery intensity. The tunnel levels out and light blasts through shutter-striped viewing windows on either side, illuminating the passage in strips of burning white. Through the gaps you can see a labyrinth of walkways and scaffolding tucked into the margins of the vast solar cells. The heat washes across your vinyl skin, making you tense against it. The underside of Darkside must be crossed. New location discovered. That's the one. Let's have a look. So this is Habpep Descent. Now that you're inside the old facility, the problem is descending quickly and safely to the core. So we have a danger here. Junie can make that into a 4, but I don't think it's worth it. I don't think that's worth the risk. Flint, not a lot of use, it must be said. Let's leave there for now. We're not rushed. I wonder if either of them can pick a mushroom. Nope. And I've run out of dice, so let's just rest. I rolled badly, but Junie rolled well. So let's do this. So we'll put Junie's 6 in there. Got 2 on the Habpep descent. I'm going to put my 5 in here, and then I'll put my 4 and 3 into... Well, I'll put my 4 into this one at least. I might use the 3 to pick mushrooms. Because these are both dangerous, so let's leave that for now. Now this isn't a guarantee... yeah, this isn't a guaranteed positive. Hopefully it is, otherwise we don't get a supply. Yeah, good. But we're going to rest again. Oh, Junior rolled well. I might use her dice to finish off this segment then. And we're in. I think these are solar cells. I think it's meant to look like this. In your exploration of the Habpep facility, you have seen, through viewing windows and shutter slats, a huge blister projecting out among the hex-shaped cells. You've approached it, circled it, and now you find yourself passing into it through layer after layer of broken and corroded safety doors. Even if you had not felt Overseer stirring, you would know that this is the mainframe. But you felt the protocol's presence, restlessly turning over in your mind like a sleeping animal, occasionally probing your senses, tracking your progress. We feel at home. Overseer's multiple bodies stretch out their arms as if basking in sunlight. The systems, networks, signals, they are fractured and weak, but we know them. Each of the broken heads shares part of a smile. They are welcoming us. Sleeper? Junie's concerned face swims in your vision. Is the protocol talking to you? She looks into your eyes, worried. They're getting stronger already. You need to keep your focus. We're at the mainframe. You look around, suddenly aware that you've drifted somewhere you don't recognize, in a state you were not in control of. The spherical chamber you float within has a mezzanine set around its circumference, the floor a metal grating you can see through. On this mezzanine are banks and banks of terminals, thick gathered cables snaking away from them across the floor. All of it bakes in the heat of the Habpep's vast resistors. You follow those cables with your eyes. They lead to a cylindrical column coming down from the apex of the chamber. It is corroded and bent a little, with very few of its thousands of lights still flickering. Even in its decayed state, you know immediately, this is the mainframe. You feel a yearning towards it, one you know comes from Overseer, but as you look around for a connection point, all you see are burnt-out cables, rusted sockets, and broken terminals. The glow of warmth makes you feel woozy. You need to work quickly to bring this back online before the current flowing through this place bakes you into the metal of its walls. Okay, we have a new location. Which is this? Habpep Core. 2 danger things. We could get Junie in that. I'm not going to use a 1 or a 2 there, but mine should be pretty good here. So let's start here. The mainframe is in a terrible state. It needs work before Overseer can be given access. Reboot terminals. The mainframe's terminals list millions of errors. They need to be rebooted before they can be used. Okay. Repair connectors. Let's do those with my 4s to begin with. 100% positive outcome. I'll use my 6 over here, I think. Which should finish this off. The column of the mainframe pulses with fractured lights, a scattered wave of systems awakening, accompanied by the whine and stutter of the machines all around. Mainframe is up. Flint looks nervously around the room, now shaking and shimmering with energy. Time to connect, but if I see something that isn't right, I'm pulling you out. You reach out for the primed connector and with your other hand touch the socket at the base of your synthetic skull. As you do, a sharp shock runs through your fingers. For a moment it feels like your vision doubles, but as you pull the connector and its cable across your vision, you see it is only your body that is doubling. The connector a stable object, while your arm leaves ghostly imprints through the air. You wave it back and forth, but the multiplied arms do not follow. Each instead takes on a life of its own, grabbing around your forearm and wrist and taking control of your arm. You feel their force as they push your arm across your body over your shoulder. They push once more, and the connector finds its home in the socket. That familiar flow, but stronger, rushing, rapid. Then a figure, no, 3 figures descending into it. A swimmer stepping into a river, a sleeper drifting out of an airlock, a symbol being subsumed into a sign. And you, little more than a witness, a marionette, its strings outstretched, mapped hand to hand, leg to leg to another. The flow freezes, the 3 figures almost overlapping, almost complete, but not quite. Their tripled eyes look back at you in horror. The voice, shrill, silent in your head. There's someone else in here. Heat glazing your thick vinyl skin, the mainframe a whirring chaos of light and sound, a brightness, and then it fades. The lights shutting off, the servers powering down, a single blinking light, the only thing left on the dark column, keeping time like a metronome. What happened? Flint looks you up and down, checking for damage. Did something blow in the system? Did Overseer cross over? You close your eyes and try to recall the events that happened when you connected, playing them back in greater detail. Overseer was there, entering the mainframe, but something froze the system, locked them in place. What did they say? Someone in there with them. You open your eyes. Was this a trap? Someone has trapped Overseer. As you speak, a fizzing static fills one ear. You flinch, thinking it's some new invasion of your system. Then you hear Seraphine through the haze. "Sleeper, come now. Waiting. The rig." It's no use. You'll have to ascend to find out what's going on topside. You look at the mainframe with its single blinking light still keeping time. It looks like Overseer will have to wait. Trapped in the mainframe, Overseer is still the key to all this. You hope you can get the protocol out. You need to hear what Seraphine has to say first. You make your way out of the core, ascending back through the layers of the HabPep, back into the docks. Seraphine meets you at the docking tunnel. "They're waiting inside." He shakes his head and nods towards the airlock. "Come on." You cross onto the ship in silence and find Carmen in the cockpit, looking out at Darkside as it sprawls across the stars.
Sleeper. Carmen turns. "Sorry to pull you away, but you need to know what's coming."
"What's going on?" "Ankita. This idiot blew my cover." You turn as Ankita enters the cockpit behind you and Seraphine. You immediately clock the fresh bandage sleeve around her right forearm.
"I think you did a pretty good job of that yourself,"
Carmen retorts. You see a twinkle in his eye that suggests this back and forth is a well-practiced part of their relationship. "Perhaps, but we'll never know now, not after you intervene to rescue me." A hand goes to a bandaged arm, almost instinctively. "Can someone explain what happened?"
"I passed the data to Ankita and she tried to broach it with Yotsubo."
Carmen folds his arms.
"But Laine was more paranoid than we expected. He was listening in."
"Either that or his lapdog Daichi ratted us out." She shakes her head. "I would have put him down if he hadn't got the jump on me."
"Either way."
Carmen cuts back in calmly.
"I had to pull Ankita out."
Carmen turns back to look over Darkside.
"The information did get through though, and now Yotsubo is in crisis as its members side with or against Laine."
"Meanwhile, Daichi is hunting us." Ankita screws up her face, "which means we need to be careful." "That's why I called you in." Seraphine puts a hand on your shoulder. "You need to watch your back."
"Indeed."
Carmen turns to face you.
"And how about the mainframe? Have you been successful?"
You explain the events of this cycle, the mainframe booting up, the successful connection, and then Overseer being locked inside, frozen by some other force. You mention their warning. There's someone else in here.
Carmen nods thoughtfully. "Unfortunately, we need that mainframe more than ever. With Ankita out of Utsubo, we have to get the word out."
Carmen's right. Utsubo will be distracted by these revelations, but it will not last. Without further proof, they'll all line up behind Laine in time. We have to free Overseer.
"We need the mainframe. Overseer is just our access tool."
"If your protocol is being locked in by some counter-protocol or agent, I wouldn't be surprised if it can be traced back to Yotsubo." Ankita looks at Carmen. "I know the locations of a few of the Yotsubo network nodes. We should hit them first."
"No, we need to stay under the radar. Sleeper and their crew will investigate the nodes, quietly."
Carmen nods at you.
"You and I will run interference. Keep Utsubo away from those locations as best we can."
"And what if we don't find anything?" "Yotsubo uses the hardline network of the old facility. If it isn't them locking down the mainframe, it's someone using that infrastructure. You think of the feeling of stasis you felt when Overseer was trapped and the power required to halt the flow of a mainframe as vast and ingrown as the Habpep one. Could it just be an Utsubo hacker? You doubt it. Seems we've got a plan. Seraphid looks between you all.
That we do, and we'll need you to keep running comms between us.
Carmen turns to you.
Sleeper, Ankita will give you the locations to dig into, but keep it quiet. Daiichi is out there, and he isn't as easily avoided as some low-ranking enforcer.
Ankita slaps the top of a couple of crates of supplies you hadn't noticed before. Consider these a parting gift for my struck tenure at Utsubo. Swiped them from a gang storehouse. She grins. Thought you might need a resupply. That is helpful, actually.
All right. Carmen addresses the room. Keep quiet and keep in touch. We can still pull this off.
So, we've got a crisis event, +1 per cycle. But we're topped up with supplies. We're going to have to probably rest. We'll check out what we're sort of currently paying into clockwise. Tower node. We'll probably put in there because it'll be a neutral or a positive. Is that the only one we've got? No, we've got a bunch. Got stuff there. And it's all dangerous, which means, well, it might mean a neutral result is enough to add stress, but what I'll do is I'll push. That gives us a guaranteed positive result. So let's hack this node. Hack or bypass? Let's hack. It's tempting, but I think a neutral result gives us stress, and we don't need stress. So let's just rest for now. I don't need to pick mushrooms. Hoping for some decent rolls. Well, I tell you what, Flint did all right. Flint did all right. He's about the only one of us that did. He can put into this one. Let's carry on hacking this node. I might put his 5 in as well. I'm not too bothered if he soaks up a stress. Which he did. Oh shit, that's Daiichi's stress. Ugh. Okay. One more. I'm gonna push. I'll put that there. There we go. Let's do this one now. Yeah, so do these. If it's adding to this stress bar, I'm not that keen on that, so I might rest up again. It's going to add one anyway when we rest. But let's pop in mushroom harvest. Still positive. Okay, well that's good. Let's end the cycle. Some good rolls there. That should be enough for us to sort of see this through. Let's actually use Junie's there. I use Flint's as well. I'll save mine for something else. Okay, so we've got this hack traced.
I don't believe it.
Carmen stares through the shutters of the viewing window at a smooth, squat ship tucked into a derelict bay between the hexes.
How long has it been here?
When the nodes were hacked and the trace established, you imagined it might lead to an Utsubo operator, or perhaps an old subnode containing an aggressive Solheim protocol, gone mad with isolation. Not this. Never this. A Senate stat ship tucked into the belly of Darkseid like a parasite. We need to move on that ship now. Ankita is already adjusting her gear, preparing for an assault. We can hit an Utsubo safe house for weaponry. There's one. Carmen holds up a hand.
This is a gift, Ankita. Don't be so brash.
He turns back to face the both of you.
All we had until now was data, conversations. Evidence easily denied or destroyed by Laine, but a Senate stat ship hidden inside the station?
Carmen nods grimly. There are hundreds of crews, thousands of residents who would give everything to protect Darkseid from the war. Carmen turns back to the ship, silhouetted against the starlight. All we need to do is point them in the right direction. We turn Darkseid on the ship. And on Laine at the same time. Carmen nods grimly. We'll leak it all, send it out through the mainframe. The ship's location, the evidence of Laine's betrayal, all of it. You're forgetting one thing, Ankita interrupts. Until that ship leaves or is taken, they still have the mainframe locked down. We can't blast out its location through the network without taking it on first. Carmen pauses, considering his options. You look out at the Senate Stat ship, half concealed in the bay. It looks sleek, dangerous. What defenses might a ship like that deploy when threatened? Carmen and Ankita exchange looks. Then we attack first. Who's talking? I'm not sure. I guess it's Ankita. Carmen and I will distract the ship's occupants, turn their focus away from the mainframe. Then you, Sleeper, hit the mainframe and force them out. As soon as Overseer is released, you send out everything. Once it hits the network, our backup will come. He gives Ankita a grim look. We only have to hold them off for as long as it takes for other crews to realize what's happening. The plan feels desperate, and you know that Carmen and Ankita think so too. Will Darkseid really mobilize against the ship so quickly? 2 old mercs against an unknown Senate Stat force feels like an unwinnable battle. We know the stakes, Sleeper. Ankita takes a deep breath. We can handle them. Ankita frowns, an unpleasant thought passing through her mind. I've given up everything to get Etsubo out. Let me finish the job. But why? She sighs. If we make it to the other side of this thing, I promise to tell you. Ankita folds her arms across her chest. Go to the mainframe and get set up. When you're ready to connect, let us know. Carmen puts a hand on your shoulder. Once you start, don't stop for anything. Get the data out. He meets your eye. We will handle ourselves. You turn and glide away, looking over your shoulder at the 2 ex-mercenaries as they discuss their plan of attack. Seeing them slip back into those old roles, you can't help but wonder, does anyone ever outrun their past? Or is it always waiting there, in the dark, to claim you in the end? Okay, well, I've got my dice here, as we know. So I guess we're gonna pop them in here. Might even push that so that we get a guaranteed win. I think we have to take the guaranteed win. Okay, the mainframe is ready. Time to call in Ankita and Carmen's strike on the ship. Need to prepare to force the Senate Stat hackers out the system. Yeah. So let's do this. The heat inside the Habpep core is intense as you stare at the column of the mainframe, its one blinking light still keeping time. Terminals, connections, it all looks good, Sleeper. Junie turns to you, her hair stuck to her forehead with sweat. We can get Overseer out. All we need is for Carmen to force Senate Stat to stop paying attention to us. You glance at Ankita's thumbnail drive, now slotted in the main terminal, containing a data packet with everything you need to unseat Laine and reveal the Senate Stat ship. You hope it will be enough. You hold a finger to your earpiece and let Seraphine know to relay the message through to Carmen. All right. Seraphine's voice is heavy with worry. I'll tell them. A long pause. Be safe, Sleeper. Get this done and come back. Stop worrying about me. Too late now. You hear the smile in his voice over the comms. I've made a habit out of it. The comms click off as Seraphine switches to Carmen's channel. You wait, imagining the conversation, the terse words activating the plan. You wait, long enough for Carmen and Ankita to nod to each other, long enough for them to drop down through the bays in silence, to check the weapons they stole from Etsubo, to take their positions, and then to make their move. You grab the connector and hold it behind your head, close to your access port. You silently count to 3, then connect. At first, nothing has changed. You drop into a state of stasis, a small, dark space with no cracks. The mainframe is locked down, shut off, squeezed inside the grip of some clenched fist. And then you see it, a trickle of light, a flicker of threads. Overseer flows into the space and the torrent begins to run. The rushing grey pulse of data, the connective threads, the jewel of the mainframe. They grow inside the space, and the space in turn grows. We see you there, Sleeper. Overseer separates and reforms within the expanding landscape. Who is this other? An enemy. Overseer's 3 heads nod. Then we will do what is necessary. Overseer explodes. The points and lines of light that described its human form separate and multiply, constellations bursting outward like a tree of stars. Overseer becomes plural. As they do, the darkness is pushed back and the extent of the mainframe is revealed. It is a stack of jeweled surfaces, each revealing more facets as the angle changes. From these facets, threads project, cutting out across Darkside, paths that stretch the length of the entire station. Their arrangement is an invitation. You accept their invitation, sending yourself skimming through lines of light, seeing how the station connects and hums with the flow of data. You see the highest tower, the lowest hex, and then the origin of the dark. A squiggle of black wrestles around a single point. The Sentet... I've been saying Senetstat. That says Sentettstat. Maybe I've been misreading this entire time. The Sentetstat's ship, now a battleground. You see flashes and flickers as Overseer dances around it, cuts at it. But looking around, you see Overseer is everywhere now, multiplied into 1,000 forms, reunited with a system designed to serve them. They dissolved into it. You suddenly remember what needs to happen, what you need them to do. You send out separate requests summoning Overseer, reminding them of your agreement. You take the bright polygon of the data packet and present it like an offering to Overseer, who is diffuse, crackling all around you, euphoric in their reconstitution as a functional protocol. You receive no response. There is nothing more than a whisper snatched away on the flow of data rushing by. And then you hear the static in your earpiece, Seraphine's desperate cry for a response. You see a bright point suddenly close. Inside the core with you, a broadcast going out from it like the beam from a lighthouse. You reach back and pull on the connector just to clear the brightness from your eyes, just to block the broadcast.
I found you.
Laine floats in the mainframe, sweat across his brow, his eyes steely cold.
I finally found you.
Junie comes out of the dark with force and ferocity, striking at Laine, wrestling him away. You freeze, watching Laine fight back, hearing Seraphine's voice shimmering in your earpiece, passing on Carmen's desperate request for aid. Can't leave Junie, help fight Laine. You kick off from the terminal behind you, gliding through the flickering lights that emanate from the mainframe. As you do, a bright crack and flicker fires and you see a figure fall back, stunned. You cannot slow your approach and you slam into Laine. That crack and flicker again, a bright pain that locks your body in spasms. Laine with a weapon, something boxy in his hand, your friend stunned just out of reach. Laine's face large in your vision, a smile like knives. The fingers of Laine's carrier signal reach inside your mind. You are boxed into the viewing window behind your eyes, a passenger in your own body. Laine is in control.
Oh, it's so much easier now that I'm prepared. It's almost a seamless switch.
Laine's face is in your vision, but its mouth does not move.
And the duality of it, like a mirror turned to face itself.
In perfect unison, you and Laine lift your hands in front of your face and turn them, inspecting them. You feel sickened, a flare of panic going off in your mind.
Look at this.
Laine opens and closes your fists with a motion like a wave that runs finger to finger.
There are improvements to be made, but this is remarkable.
Laine's eyes look into your eyes, a perfect loop.
I always knew your body was a gift, Sleeper. From the moment I first saw you. A gift you could not recognize because you only saw a burden, something to be escaped from. But I saw what it was.
Laine's eyes flash.
An opportunity.
Like a puppet, you are turned to face the mainframe. You glide forward a little, hands reaching for the access terminal. Ankita's drive glints there in its slot. You control none of this. Laine's voice.
Imagine having more than one body. More than one agent in the world to do your bidding.
Your hand reaches down, finger and thumb pinching delicately around the drive.
It's a thrilling thought, and one I've harbored for a long time.
With a short, sharp motion, you pull the drive free.
Then I saw you, my Sleeper, and knew I must have you.
You hear Seraphine's voice in your ear. Sleeper, Carmen needs that signal to go out now. There is panic in his voice. They cannot hold out much longer. No matter how hard you try, your lips don't move. No words can be produced. You feel your hand under Laine's control. Reach up and pull the earpiece out. letting it float away into the chamber.
Enough distractions.
Your other hand holds up Ankita's drive, turning it in the light in front of your eyes.
Some time ago, I set myself the task of changing you from a hollow thing into a vessel to be filled.
Your finger and thumb transfer the drive onto your palm.
Now I am able, with the help of my allies, to fill you up. I am more than singular now, more than flesh and blood, more than you in my ambition, in my desire. And that means you're surplus to me now.
Your fist closes hard around the drive, crushing it to dust.
Weak and broken thing. Your time is over.
Laine's other body approaches you and lays its hands on either side of your head. You feel the pressure. You cannot move. You cannot resist. And then a spark, as one of Laine's fingers slips and depresses a little into the access port on your head. There is a flicker, the flash of something passing through the spaces between, something riding a signal back to its broadcaster. We have not forgotten. You hear Overseer. They are reconstituted. We are ready to act as one. Overseer holds the bright data packet in a single hand. We were broken. We were many. But now we are whole, and we appreciate what you have done. Overseer shapes the data packet into a point, a bright spear of light. The spear extends through your mind gently, harming nothing of you. Instead, its point finds the mind of the other, of Laine, and pierces it directly. You hear Laine scream as his implants burn in his skull, his head flaring bright white in the cloud. And then, when that mind has gone dark and the pressure on the sides of your head has receded, the packet explodes across the network, white-hot and urgent. In its wake, data points are seeded, conversations, coordinates, a conspiracy. At the furthest point of the network, its distant edge, the data packet arrives with little more force than a notification, delivered to every device and terminal within range. But here, at the epicenter, it blasts through you with such power that, for a moment, every thought, every idea, every piece that might make up a self is wiped cleanly from your mind. Ooh, what's happening? Dark side. It takes a long time to put a person back together. A long time in the dark, picking up fragments of what once was whole. Like waking from sleep, you can never be sure what piece might have gone missing in the reconstruction, what might have been lost. But you continue anyway, through hazy cycles of faces and distant voices. This is, after all, not the first time you've had to remake yourself, and you imagine it will not be the last. Ah, you're up. Seraphine finds you looking out of the lone window in the rig's berths, a slit that stares out across the shattered edge of Darkside. How long was I out? Seraphine gives you half a grin. Ah, well, best not to think about it. He looks away for a second. Long enough. Suddenly, Seraphine crosses the bunks and embraces you. He squeezes you once and then backs off, hands on both your shoulders. Good to see you up. He smiles. As always. Come on, we need to go find Bliss. Seraphine leads you out of the bunks, through the ship and down the docking tunnel into Darkside. As you glide through the docks, he recounts what's been happening over these past cycles. You weren't the only one to take a beating. He squeezes through a group of cargo porters carrying crates. It is Senate Stat. The last one was a misprint. Ankita and Carmen held out against the Senate Stat shit long enough, but they aren't without their share of injuries. They're back on their feet now. They were working together. They've managed to quiet down some of the remnants of Utsubo. Stop the factional infighting. They're clearing out one of the Utsubo safe houses over in the rise. I'm sure they could use the help if you need something to do. Marco's come to the station too. He wanted to help with the cleanup after Utsubo fell. He's working with Ankita. I should go see him, but... Seraphine sighs. You feel like he hasn't quite accepted Marco's reappearance. You aren't sure how you'd react to seeing him again either. Oh, and Carmen isn't sticking around. He's already left for Oliveira. Seraphine pauses for a moment, a memory of that place coming back to him. You watch him shake the thought away. Junie, meanwhile, is still digging into all that data she pulled from the bunker. She's down in the Habpep core most cycles trying to make sense of it. Anyway, he'll soon catch up on everything. He smiles sympathetically, but there's something behind his look. You can't quite place it. The two of you continue on in silence, drifting into the depths of Darkside. Good friends, side by side. Seraphin leads you down a passage lined with bright lights and signs, sound and light blasting out of the shop fronts on either side. You know this place, Flicker Row. He stops outside a familiar door, the shop you woke up in all those cycles ago. He gives the door a few quick raps with his knuckles. You wait. Hey, Sleeper. He shoots you a glance. When you're ready, we should talk about the future, what comes next and all that. Yeah, whenever you like. Ah, thanks. I'll let you know. Seraphin looks away. Sleeper! Bliss opens the door and immediately jumps to hug you. They let go sheepishly and look between you and Seraphin. First day up, I thought you'd both be celebrating your freedom. I dinna want to overdo it. Seraphin shakes his head. Plus there's more important stuff to talk about. His eyes shoot into the shop beyond. Bliss's voice drops. You sure, Seraphin? They just got up. Can't it wait a cycle? Seraphin looks at you. They should know, Bliss. It's important. They nod hesitantly and then back into the shop, letting you come inside. Little has changed since you were last there. The stacks of servers, the refurbished hardware secured in roof and wall netting, the connectors, including the one that facilitated your reboot. Bliss and Seraphin follow behind quietly, and the atmosphere is immediately ominous. I've been keeping an eye on you these past cycles. Bliss hooks their legs onto a stool by the counter, making sure you were stable. Your frame, I'm sure you know, has been through a lot, and with the Overseer pushed Laine out, well, things got more complicated. All those changes Laine made to your system, he did it through your stabilizer. He laced it with proteins meant to alter your frame's basic function, to accept other emulations, other minds, to open you up to remote access. What Overseer did corrected some of that, or at least wiped it from your system, but the stress involved and the damage from your last partial reboot. Bliss falls silent, unable to answer their own questions. We need to finish the reboot, Sleeper, the one Laine interrupted. Seraphin can always be relied on to tell you things straight. Not immediately, Bliss cuts in, but at some point soon. I'm not quite ready, but now that you're up, Bliss looks down, I'll get to work. Is it dangerous? Bliss takes a deep breath. Look, I'll be honest, Sleeper. I know we need to finish the reboot, Laine interrupted, I'm sure of it, but the effects... They shake their head. Your frame was complex to begin with, but after everything, that reaction could be, bad. We can talk about it more when I've got the... Bliss stops suddenly, their eyes shooting to the door. Sorry, am I? Flint floats in the doorway. They look at you, wide-eyed. You're up. A smile crosses their face, though it quickly fades. Good to see you. Really good. How are you doing, Flint? Good. They glance at Bliss, smiling. Mostly thanks to Bliss. They've been taking care of me. Bliss smiles back. Flint has become my patient too. Bliss clasps their hands nervously together. We've been able to acquire some stabilizer from Laine's stores, which has helped, but we don't have much of a supply. Bliss is going to reboot me like you were, Flint cuts in. I won't need stabilizer anymore. They sound almost excited at the prospect. You look to Bliss. Flint knows the risks, but they've asked for the procedure. They give Flint a warning look. Still, they shouldn't underestimate the danger. Bliss looks at Flint. Sleeper will also need the reboot, but they don't have a choice in the matter. It's essential. Flint goes quiet. Bliss and Seraphin look nervously at you to see your reaction to all this. You feel like a spotlight is being shone in your face. All you want is some time alone to think. We should do it together. Flint speaks quietly. Whatever we risk it together. They meet your eye. I owe you that and more. Let's pick this up again in future. Bliss tries to calm the tension. I still need many cycles to prepare, especially if I'm to reboot you both simultaneously. It'll be your choice, Sleeper. You decide when. They reach out and lay a hand on yours, but without this, you'll soon begin a decline. Sorry for that. Your head spins. Seraphin slaps a button to open the door. Come on, Sleeper, let's get some air. You follow him outside, but when you get there, all you can think is that you can't breathe. You don't need to breathe. A wave of claustrophobia passes over you. You're in control of this, Sleeper. Seraphin stares at the lights and signs of Flicker Row, looping endlessly. You put what you need in order and I'll be right there with you. I got Bliss to teach me a little about the repairs they've been doing for you. Seraphin rubs his hands together. I ken it's getting worse, but I'll do my best to keep you running. You let me know when you want to leave and I'll fly you out of this place faster than you can believe. He turns to face you, and we can go wherever you need. He frowns. There's time for us yet. Thanks. You never need to thank me, Sleeper. He pats you on the shoulder. Just look after yourself. I was also thinking. Seraphin looks away. I got a message from Oliveira. They're still getting the place together, but with Carmen heading back, the colony is starting a new chapter. Maybe we should head out there at some point, lend a hand. He pauses, unwilling to push it further. Just a thought. Anyway, just give the word. Seraphine smiles. We're all glad you're back. He turns and drifts away, leaving you among the cycling colours and cacophonous sounds of Flicker Row. You close your eyes and let them wash over you like a wave. There, in the dark of your mind, you search for Overseer, but the protocol doesn't appear. You wonder if, in that final moment, Overseer might have destroyed themselves to end Laine. But then you feel it flickering nearby, a signal in the dark. You open your eyes and see something pass through the screens of Flicker Row, a shadow in all the brightness. Could Overseer still be here in the ancient networks of the Habpep? You turn away and glide out of the row. You have other things to worry about now. Okay. I tell you what, there's loads of stuff still going on. But I think I might leave it there for now. It's gone on quite a long time, this episode. It feels like we've kind of closed a chapter on that Laine stuff. Laine's gone. We're moving on. There's still a few things to get on with. Well, yeah, I'm not sure how many more episodes there'll be. It's possible we'll just finish everything up next time, or maybe it's another couple of episodes, but we'll just see how it goes. But thanks very much for watching this. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you could hit that like button, that'd be much appreciated, as would be any comments as well. Let me know what you thought about the story and wrapping up that Laine storyline, getting a revenge over him at last. I hope Junie's okay. She did get knocked unconscious in that fight. But yeah, if you let me know your thoughts, that'd be amazing. And if you're watching this and not yet subscribed to the channel, if you could do that, that'd be brilliant. So thanks very much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.